Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Members of the panel, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to offer some remarks as introduction to the further deliberation of the panel on leadership and building future-ready leaders. At this point, there is nowhere to start but with the pandemic that has been the ultimate test for leaders. As we work to help our organizations recover, we really must focus on building the capacity to navigate and thrive in a new world and on better preparedness for the unpredictability of the next normal. But at the same time, as we emerge from one of the most profound crises facing leadership to date, leaders have also been offered the opportunity to reconnect with our organization's purpose, renew our commitment to our stakeholders, and assess our priorities moving forward. And nowhere is this more deeply felt than in the relationship between organizations and their employees. For a start, the alternative work arrangements that were necessary to mitigate the spread of the virus has necessitated a vital review to reshape the current structure of the work environment. Almost 2 years of the pandemic, employees are increasingly re-evaluating the trajectory of their lives and rethinking their choices in the pursuit of greater well-being. Studies have found a decline in mental health and increase in stress and anxiety as employees struggle to cope with the demands of their new work life. Some developed economies are experiencing the great resignation, where newly empowered workers are quitting their jobs, often for better working conditions. Balancing a new combination of remote and on-site working that many companies and government are grappling with today is a challenge leaders need to get right as we prepare the ground for new organizational norms to underpin a new culture and way of working that will engender the trust, common purpose, shared values, and social cohesion required to inspire top performance. In the current environment, empathy, according to one research, is the most important leadership skill required today to create the conditions for positive engagement, happiness, and performance. This does impose tremendous pressure on leaders, though, demanding that they create positive impact on people's lives whilst grappling with so many issues that they have no answers for. Then again, when we speak about the basic need for respect, the CEO of a human resources company argues that in the pandemic, people have talked a lot about essential workers, but we actually treat them as essential jobs. We treat the workers as quite replaceable, something that leaders need to think about again when we speak today of prioritizing individuals over processes, of focusing on the individual as a whole. Authenticity in a leader encourages people to bring their whole selves to their jobs and participate fully and honestly in the workplace. So leaders need to understand the role of the intangibles such as health and well-being, reputation, trust, and relationship as strategic drivers of value for the organization and major levers in the acquisition and retention of talent. Employees want meaning in their jobs. They want to be part of an organization that they can be proud of, one that has a clear, unequivocal, and positive impact on the world. Individuals value equity and justice. In a recent McKinsey survey comprising a representative sample of 1,000 participants from the US, 82% of respondents affirmed the importance of purpose, contributing to society and creating meaningful work with the top 2 priorities of employees in the survey, but these were the focus of just 21% and 11% respectively of companies' purpose statements. In all probability, if a similar survey were to be carried out elsewhere, as well as here in Malaysia, similar outcomes would be obtained. While some companies like Hasanah are clear and steadfast about their purpose, embracing their role in a stakeholder economy and avoiding pure maximization of profits, many others struggle in the face of tensions and trade-offs that must be made between business and societal goals. Deep reflection is therefore needed by leaders on what we really must stand for and make the changes that will enable us to live our purpose, integrate new values and priorities into the way we do business, and build the resilience to endure the effects of crises and upheavals while retaining and motivating our talent. This is inevitable. The pandemic has served to exacerbate the large inequity that exists amongst us, exemplified by previous speakers. While some have the luxury of choice, hundreds of millions have lost their livelihoods. Weaknesses in food supply chains have left many chronically undernourished, and according to UNDP estimates, the digital divide and the lack of access to internet have left 86% of school children in developing countries without education. Malaysia is no exception. We have suffered to a larger or lesser extent from the ill effects of the pandemic. Recovery measures will require us to revisit our values, our policies and practices, and to my mind, we must introduce a proactive, sustainability-driven governance model that truly balances the economic with the social, environmental, and governance dimensions that are inextricably linked with long-term success. Just a few days ago, the United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP26, came to a close. Pledges have been made, indicating signs of progress, but nowhere near the ambition required to meet the 1.5-degree goal, reflecting the state of the political will across the world. Business is therefore to step in and take the lead. What is clearly needed is for business leaders to mobilize resources to translate the commitments and pledges into rapid action, drive the change necessary to close the gap. We have to take responsibility. It is heartening to note that in Malaysia, the CEO Action Network, a sustainability-focused informal coalition of leading CEOs and senior decision makers working together with Climate Governance Malaysia, have initiated steps to respond to critical climate change issues. They are examining transformative actions to tap opportunities to develop and offer new solutions which will yield positive social and environmental impact. To be fair, these efforts are not new. Malaysian regulators have for long required companies to adopt responsible corporate practices, recognizing that the choices and decisions that corporate leaders make do not just determine the prosperity of their organizations, but will have an impact on the communities in which they operate and on the environment. But today, there is an overriding need for urgency and intensifying of action. Leaders will be held to account to deliver on this. Yesterday at the panel session, the Deputy Secretary General of the Ministry of Finance spoke of the need for a carrot and stick approach and gave the heads up on a new climate change law that will be legislated soon. The Institute of Corporate Directors Malaysia was established by the Securities Commission to enhance board effectiveness and strengthen corporate governance. BSC and Bank Negara have also established a joint committee to build climate change resilience amongst the Malaysian financial sector. And at COP26, the IFRS Foundation said it would form the International Sustainability Standards Board that will be tasked with creating a single set of standards to meet investors' information needs. But law, regulation, standards aside, leaders must know that if their companies lag behind, they risk losing the competition for capital, customers, and talent. I'm glad that rising consciousness have led to the establishment of new forums like the CEO Network, which will hopefully drive collective action, build capacity and skills to address systemic issues, and facilitate the development of a policy-driven environment to prompt solutions towards a more sustainable future. Investors have shown time and again that they will not hesitate to take action against leadership of companies, including changing the board composition for real or perceived shortcomings in addressing ESG concerns. Activist shareholders' ability to influence change has only intensified across the world. It is imperative that leaders initiate steps to transition to new and innovative pathways for growth, fine-tune their risk management strategies, and preempt problems by regular stakeholder communication. Simultaneously, I believe these developments help to influence philanthropic efforts through addressing the root cause of problems. Instead of merely treating the symptoms, identify the core issues that shape reality on the ground. There is no doubt that when companies leverage their scale to benefit society, the impact can be immense. Leaders today have a unique opportunity to reimagine their company and their industry, leverage technology, restructure their business, and drive transformational change. Of course, there are trade-offs to be made between the interests of diverse stakeholders, but today's overriding concern for ESG, and in particular the climate crisis, have led not only employees and consumers, but also investors into pushing companies to extend their horizons and create value over the long term. It is not only good for the bottom line, it also benefits people and the planet. Thank you.